Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to AI-powered marketing, how financial advisors are winning clients with AI in 2025. I'm Doug Pierce, and I'm joined by my colleagues at Horsesmouth, Sean Bailey and Devin Kropp. Now, Sean and Devin are the driving forces behind Horsesmouth's two workshops on AI for advisors. The AI-powered financial advisor, the next one of that actually starts next week. We'll talk a little bit about that more during the discussion, and also AI marketing for advisors. So thank you both for being here today. And let's get right into it. Almost 20% of advisors are brainstorming marketing strategies with AI. So how exactly are they framing these prompts to get valuable insights? And Sean, maybe you want to kind of quickly define what prompting means for those who don't have a lot of experience yet with these tools.
Yeah, but before I do, let me just step back because you said 20% of advisors are brainstorming marketing strategies. That comes from a survey that we have in the field right now. We surveyed 500 advisors back last May and June that created a baseline around AI usage by financial advisors. Now here we are 6 months later doing the same survey again, and we're seeing we're seeing significant adoption by advisors. One of the more interesting observations is that daily usage of an AI model by financial advisors has gone from like 12% last summer to I think like almost 26% now. So we're seeing a big awakening, the AI awakening maybe, uh, of some advisors who are seeing the potential for this sort of thing, this tool. In fact, it is, quickly in certain corners of the world, um, AI is being, totally integrated into people's workflows. I was just listening to a podcast of that featured Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, and he said in the interview that he uh, uh, I'm trying to remember exactly what he said. He engages AI first and then brings on any issue. He goes to AI first, and then the output of his conversation with an AI model, he then takes to his team to discuss next steps. So what's going on there? Satya Nadella is saying that he is collaborating with AI as the CEO of one of the largest, most profitable companies in the world. He is using, what Ethan Mollick from the University of Pennsylvania, author of the book. What is the book anyway?
Co-intelligence.
Co-intelligence, right? Exactly. That's the point I wanted to make. He is using the AI as a co-intelligence, as a partner. Okay. Um, and it totally makes sense. And the people who've gone through our training programs totally understand that because once you go through the program, you know, people's, minds are blown from the first session all the way through. And it's really changing how people are thinking and working um, with their daily workflows, how they're working. And so your question about almost 20% of advisors are brainstorming marketing strategies with AI is a piece of data from our survey that's in the field now. It hasn't reached a statistically significant sample level yet. It's over 200 responses, I believe. So we need to get to 500, but you can tell, I've seen enough of these over the years. 20% are doing that with their marketing. So how are they framing these prompts to get valuable insights is what you asked, Doug. And so the first question is, okay, what is a prompt? This is what we teach in all our courses, and we teach it in depth. Prompts are the manner in which we communicate with AI models. They are, in essence, no code code. And what that means is that you can now code these large language models to do what you want them to do by simply communicating with them in English, okay, by writing a few sentences. That's what a prompt is. A prompt is a what they call natural language processing. It's just English, or you can do it in Spanish as well, or I think, 30 or 40 other languages that the large language models recognize. but we're working in English. And so this prompt is the manner in which you start and continue your conversations with the AI model. And so in our programs, we teach, there's a whole world of frameworks for engaging AI models. The one that we teach, the one that I find to be the simplest to teach, advisors get it, it's easy to remember. It's called role task format. That's the first part. And when I say role, what that means is you are telling the AI model, when I say AI model, I mean ChatGPT or Claude.ai or Gemini, okay? You've probably hearing about these. And so when you are writing your prompt, you're invoking a role. You're saying, act as a skilled marketing consultant who has worked with financial advisors for 30 years. That is the first part of a sentence that an advisor might use to start brainstorming a marketing strategy. That was just the role. I said role task format. The task is when you're going to tell it exactly what you want to do. And in this case, an advisor would be saying, I'm looking to, I want to grow my business. I want to add, 15 new clients this year. It's about a couple, 1.5 to 2 per month. And I usually close, 3/4 of my prospect meetings turn into clients. So let's have a conversation about some things that I could do to generate more leads in my business. So now we've told it what it's acting as, consulting, marketing consulting expert who's worked with advisors. We've told it to task. We need to brainstorm some marketing strategies, um, and so that we can come up with some activities that are going to drive more leads. Okay. Then format. Format is simply telling the AI model how you want this to appear, or how do you want your session to go. So you could say, I want you to give me a bullet point. Let's give me these ideas numbered, or give them to me as a bullet points, or put them in a table, or give me them one at a time so that we can talk about them. Format can be a whole range of things, as can, for instance, roles, right? We could be talking about an entirely different subject, and you would say act as, and then the act as might be, you know, uh, act as a act as an accountant, act as a investment manager, act as a maybe you have issues with your team and you want some HR consulting expertise. So you'd say, act as an HR consultant, right? So all these roles are involved. So you got role, task, format. But for brainstorming, you would need an additional thing. And in our programs, we teach two-part prompting, role, task, format. And then the second part's called um, context, questions, and examples, right? And so in this case, for this prompt, you would say, ask me some questions. So you would say, to brainstorm on marketing strategies, you would say, you would invoke the expertise, act as a marketing consultant who's worked with financial advisors for 30 years, right? You will then tell them what it is you want to do. Your goal for the year is to come up with 12 new clients. You want some marketing strategies. You want to brainstorm some marketing strategies that are going to bring you more prospects, and then you've given it the format. But you might also say, finish your prompt by saying, ask me questions, okay? And ask them to me one at a time. That then kicks off with the AI model. It assumes the persona of the expert that we invoked, and it starts a conversation. And you go back and forth with the AI to have this conversation, have this brainstorming. And, I think a lot of people do this, and, you could do it in 5 or 10 minutes and get it. It could be very fruitful. You could get more involved in it, and it could go longer. And then as you have this conversation, that goes, it's happening between you and the keyboard and your computer and the AI model at the other end. You get to the end of your brainstorm and you can say, okay, I like two of those strategies that we've mentioned so far. You would mention them and say, now give me, go back and look at our conversation. Give me a summary of those two particular items that I thought were good, like, maybe holding an annual barbecue for CPAs in late spring or early summer after the big tax rush is over, and that's part of how you generate, strategic alliances and referrals. And maybe the other thing was, putting on a webinar series around new tax laws that you're expecting to see in the second half of the year. Those could be some examples. So that would be, that's an example of brainstorming some marketing strategies.
Yeah, and so if you're unfamiliar using these tools, yeah, write down role task format, put it on a sticky note, put it next to your computer, and just get into one of these models, get into ChatGPT, whatever. Try it out, try your prompts out using that format, and you will quickly begin to realize the power that is at your fingertips now. So great. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, from our surveys, we know that there's a massive middle out there of advisors who really aren't haven't gone through the AI awakening. They're using AI maybe a couple times a week, once a week, a couple times a month, based on our survey. Uh, and that means to me that if they're using it so infrequently, they haven't had the awakening. They haven't learned how to properly communicate with the AI model. Because when you do have a framework or a structure, it just opens up so many avenues, so many horizons for helping you and your business. And so one of the key aspects of being successful is having this prompting framework that you can apply to, brainstorming or all sorts of other things. They have very specific activities. You can bring it problems, all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah, if I could butt in quickly, I
Sure.
love that you use the word conversation because I think sometimes when people are getting started with AI, we think of it as an input-output situation. So you tell it to do something, it outputs it, and that's the end of the interaction that you have with the model. But once you start asking it to ask you questions, and once you start to have it iterate with you, that's the real power of this AI. You don't have to just accept the first answer that it comes with. It should be a conversation. You should be involved in the decision making and the process of it. And I think conversation is such a key word when we're talking about communicating and using AI efficiently.
No, those are great insights. And of course, the issue there is that some people they see a search box that they go to ChatGPT and the thing kind of looks like a Google search box, and they're used to just any
Keywords.
any search
Right.
box they ever see, they're used to throwing in two or three words, and then the outputs are less, suboptimal, we'll say, right? They're no good, basically. And then people think, oh, this AI thing is overblown because they hear a lot of people who, frankly, are uninformed or saying there's a lot of AI hype, but not much behind it. Totally wrong. But somebody who doesn't understand this framework and the importance of it, they'll be left, unimpressed. But it will be because they haven't taken the time to learn it. And this is what's called a general purpose technology. That's not the GPT and ChatGPT. It is a phrase that's used to describe new and powerful and sort of world-changing technologies like the internet, like radio and TV, electricity, fire, water. What we have now with AI is we have untapped intelligence. We have the ability to um, be able to have very, very smart experts assist us in everything that we do. And what it takes to really use these things effectively is about 8 to 10 hours of training. This is what Ethan Mollick has said at the University of Pennsylvania, that when yeah, he says any knowledge worker, you need to get in there, roll up your sleeves, fine, take a class, do something, but it takes about 8 to 10 hours before you can then really get, oh my God, this is unbelievable. And of course, we're talking here today because next Thursday, we're kicking off our intro to AI program. It's called the AI Powered Financial Advisor, where you're going to learn in depth, the proper ways to speak to the AI models. And then we're going to go into how to engage your clients with this and how to use it in marketing and how to bring your team along. And so it's an 8-hour program that's 2 hours a week for 4 weeks. So anyway, Doug, let's continue. I'll stop talking about next week's
Yeah.
program.
Yeah, well, just quickly, for those of you watching, you can see the link on screen, but for those who might be listening only, you can go to horsesmouth.com/AI to find more about that workshop starting next week. Okay, well, another interesting data point that is emerging from our survey shows that 15% of advisors are creating investment proposals with AI. Obviously, client data protection, it's a big concern among advisors. We hear concerns about it in our webinars and in workshops as well. What safeguards should advisors consider when they're doing this? Devin, you want to take this one?
Sure, that's a great question. And I'll start off by saying that, we have two AI programs in the field right now. And generally, we're focusing on, using AI in other parts of your business to basically free up time so you can spend more time doing the investment stuff that many of you like to do and are trained in, but maybe don't get to spend as much time doing because you're worried about the practice management and the marketing and all of that. And so we don't necessarily touch a lot on, using AI to choose investments and build out investment proposals because we know for many of you that's what you like to do, right? And using AI efficiently is kind of taking those tasks that maybe you don't like to do and giving those to AI to free you up to do the stuff that you do like to do. But obviously, the survey is showing that there are advisors out there who are using AI in this process. And I do think that AI can be used effectively in different parts of the process of building out investment proposals. But of course, there are safeguards that we need to discuss. Number one, you never want to be inputting sensitive client data into these large language models. You want to remove names and any kind of personal information that goes into there. One example of this is throughout the program we kind of go through how to use AI to take notes from your client meeting and really come up with follow-up emails and things for your notes for your CRM, and many times we recommend removing that personal information so you don't have to worry necessarily about that being put into these models. So you want to make sure, number one, that you're looking at the personal information that you're inputting into the models. And number two, I would say, this is where you really need to be the human in the loop. We cannot just rely on what the model is outputting as the investment proposal that you're going to send off to a client. You want to be the decision maker here. It can help you in maybe, that research phase or help you with some of the language that you're going to use, but you really want to be the final decision maker here with AI's kind of input on various parts of that process. We have had advisors who have found a lot of success using an AI tool called Perplexity to kind of help with this process. Perplexity is basically like ChatGPT and Google smashed together. And there are advisors who, maybe have a client or a prospect who has a unique situation financially, and they'll go to Perplexity to look up some, information about different strategies that they could take, and that can help them then come up with a proposal that might work for that client. Of course, you always want to review that and make sure that it's accurate, but it can get you to a really good starting point, especially for those more obscure cases that you might not see every day and you're not necessarily sure where to get started. So I think there is a use case for it, but you certainly want to be the human in the loop. And interestingly enough, the CFP board the last few days has just come out with some guidelines around AI, which Sean, I know you've had the chance to look at, so I don't know if you want to add anything there about what they're saying kind of about this.
Well, I don't want to go into it in depth, and it's a good common sense kind of PDF, like 6 pages or something they've put out called the Generative AI Ethics Guide, and I'm taking a look at it this morning. And yeah, basically it's like just use common sense, of course, and all your concerns about confidentiality, privacy, integrity, still apply to using generative AI models as much as they do to, anything else, right? And you still have the same duties to your clients in terms of when you're communicating with them to provide that accurate information. As Devin has said, she's used the phrase human in the loop. You're still responsible. You're bringing AI along as a co-intelligence, as a partner, but you're still the person out front, and you're the one that still needs to, comply with the law and comply with, any lawful objectives, and the CFPs, you know, um, uh, saying to advisors, look, here's some code and standards. I'm glad they did it. And there's more than 100,000 advisors that are out there who have CFPs. And so, I'm glad to see the CFP board doing this, because we are trying to promote AI literacy among financial advisors, because we believe in, how powerful and, you know, paradigm changing all of this is. And so, yeah, I'm glad that the CFP board is out there. But to go back to the investment proposal thing, just kind of briefly, because we had an advisor in our one of our training classes last fall who when he saw when he went through the first part of the program, learning how to prompt and communicate, then he realized, oh my gosh, uh, he could understood, my God, I can invoke a role like an investment strategist and have a conversation with somebody about a client who was coming in the next day. Because I think I might have mentioned this last week or earlier this week in another live stream, but he had a client who was selling an apartment complex and going to have a significant liquidity event. And the advisor wanted to have, a sort of comprehensive meeting about all the different ways that could possibly go with this liquidity. And so the advisor had an in-depth conversation with the AI model in preparation for the meeting with this client. And the final output was, which extremely useful to the advisor. He then had the AI model, create an agenda for the meeting where they ticked off the 8 or 10 possible things that they should be considering as the client and the advisor work together to figure out what they're going to do with this, this big, payout from the selling of the apartment complex. And the reason I'm going back to it is that advisor had that in-depth conversation. He didn't have to reveal any personal identifiable information at all. He just said, I got a client coming in tomorrow. And then he gave him the context. Remember, I said role task format, a context question examples. And so you can kick off a session with AI about your client coming in that's going to have this big liquidity event, or any other kind of topic or issue or challenge that you're facing, and have a very effective interaction, one that's way more powerful and insightful, and done more quickly than if you didn't have AI. I think the advisor that we in our program said it would have taken him 2 hours or more to prepare for this meeting, and instead it only took him 20 minutes. And my point is, he didn't have to use the client's name, and he didn't use the client's name. And so this gets back to what I'm saying about, it's mostly common sense. And as I looked quickly this morning at the CFP board's generative AI ethics guide, yeah, it's mostly common sense anyway. But I'm glad they're doing it, because I think more importantly, it signals to that 100,000, 103,000 CFPs out there that this is a really important topic. And we know from our surveying that of those 100,000 CFPs, there's there's probably only 25% of them are, using AI, and the other 75% really aren't using it. So I'm glad to see the CFP board pointing in a subtle way that, look, this is an important topic that we think our members, our CFP holders ought to be aware of. So anyway, that's what we got going on with that, Doug. Back to
Okay,
you.
great.
Yeah.
Let's move on then to niche marketing. So uh, niche marketing research is being done by about 10% of advisors. We're learning from our survey. How is AI exactly helping them to identify and then penetrate these specialized markets?
Yeah. So I'm really enthusiastic around the potential for a niche, developing a niche strategy, that advisors can develop a niche strategy with the assistance of AI. Horse's Mouth back in the mid 2005, 2006, we introduced a program called Rich Niche Prospecting. It was a 30-day training program that helped advisors um, get a niche strategy going. And one of the things, and advisors love the program, and but one of the big challenges after going through the program was they still had to then, going forward, take the time to do the research on their niche to identify, in their geographic area or in general their topical area, who are the people I need to find in this area, and how are they going to, how am I going to differentiate what I'm doing? What is an ideal client persona look like in this niche? All those things took a lot of time, right? And now with these AI models, as somebody who's looking to develop a fresh niche marketing strategy can go from 0 to 80 in a very quick period of time because the research tools are very, very powerful. And so, people, Devin mentioned perplexity, right? If an advisor was looking, had some reason, like he maybe thought, oh, I've got two dentists in my practice. I just added the second one recently, um, uh, because sometimes advisors find a niche that they pursue is one that is already organically creating within their book of business. And then they take the time to step back and say, okay, what is it about me and our service that has attracted two or three of these people already so far? And now they say, okay, I understand I've got a couple dentists. Let me see if I could build a niche around dentists in my area. And so then you could turn to AI tools like Perplexity and start that research, and you can get a huge amount done uh, in terms of investigating. What are the challenges of dentists? What are their pain points? What are the kind typical demographics? Literally, what is the best way, the fastest way, the most thorough way for me to identify all the dentists in the three-county area where I tend to do business, right? Then you can use the AI models to create ideal client personas around your niche members, right? So it would be these particular types of dentists. And you can create very rich ideal client personas that you are then use to leverage AI in your particular marketing as you develop your niche. Likewise, you would want to have a customized value proposition for the people in your niche. These are all things that took a lot of brain cycles and a lot of thinking and a lot of energy. And now, when you collaborate with AI, you can get these things achieved more quickly and more effectively, right? And so, in addition to um, uh, identifying who your market is, creating an ideal client persona, having your value proposition for that niche, you can then also develop a specialized message platform. What are the kinds of key phrases and words uh, and thinking that you should be bringing to your marketing when you're reaching out to this specific niche? And the AI models can come in and help very effectively in that. We have our AI Marketing for Advisors program, which starts, Devin, when does that start? Like the first week of April, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and that's a 5-week training program. And we've got special tools that step you through all the kinds of things I'm mentioning here, including creating a marketing plan as well. I mean, that's what the program's all about. But these AI tools in niche marketing could get you, from 0 to 80 very quickly. Whereas in the past, before AI, you could spend 30 days really developing your strategy and then spend another 6 months really doing the legwork to get it up and going. And now AI collapses that time frame, and you can be, hitting the ground with some very solid niche strategies in a few weeks instead of 6 months. So that would be an example, Doug, of how, I think how people are using, how advisors are starting to use AI on their niche marketing front.
Okay, well, you alluded to persona development there in what you were talking about, which is a very fringe use case, I think, among advisors, at least our survey showing where only 7% of advisors are doing this.
Yeah,
Did you
right.
want to say any more about how advisors can leverage that?
Well, I mean, first of all, I've been in this business like 23, 24 years, and one of the first things I learned was like, oh, yeah, every advisor ought to have an ideal client profile, right? We have a certain type of client we're going to pursue. We're going to build our business around it. We're going to develop deep expertise. And so to just simply say, oh, retirees, or to say, oh, uh, business executives with the software companies in the Research Triangle Park in Raleigh, North Carolina. Those are still fairly broad statements, right? And so, in order to be effective, we've always talked about these ideal client profiles, which we now refer to them as ideal client personas. Then the AI models can step you through a series of questions that about what you want to do with with your in this case a niche or just your marketing in general, right? And by answering a small number of questions, uh, the AI models can create a very rich and highly specific profile of some of your clients. And so, for instance, in the AI marketing program, there is uh, we step the advisors through an AI tool that we've created for them that typically produces three separate types of ideal client personas. And the personas are used hand in glove with the marketing, with the prompting to the AI model. And they're very detailed stories with specific names and names, occupations, backstories, hobbies, goals, aspirations, family. And when you have that kind of rich picture in your mind about the type of client you want for your business, uh, you just end up attracting that kind of prospect anyway. But when you take those personas and you use them as part of your prompting to create your marketing copy, for instance, wow, it is very, very, very effective. It creates very smart, very persuasive, spot-on messaging for the kinds of people you're hoping to contact and then get them to schedule a meeting with you and have sort of rich conversations. And again, you can go through the whole process of in marketing all down to, like I just mentioned, having a first meeting with them. Okay, so you're about to have a first meeting with this particular type of person. It seems to match your ideal client persona. Before the meeting, you can sit down with the AI model and have a 10-minute conversation about this prospect that's coming in that seems to fit your ideal client persona. And you could, again, have the AI model to create a customized agenda for that meeting that you're going to have in a few minutes. And it'll be way more effective than totally flying by the seat of your pants with your typical discovery approach. You'll end up connecting more deeply with the prospect and increasing the likelihood that this client that matches your ideal client persona actually uh, quickly develops some trust with you and sees your competence and wants to move further to a second meeting where you can then make recommendations and then hopefully bring them on board as a client.
Okay, so let's move on to social media. Social media content creation. Our survey is showing that 17% of advisors are using AI for help there. Devin, what platforms are advisors focusing on, and how is AI helping them maintain consistency, which we know is, of course, critical for success on these platforms?
Yeah, I think that this is a wonderful use case for AI. Implementing it in your marketing is helping with a social media strategy because, again, we do know that sometimes consistency can be an issue here. there's so many things that advisors are working on a daily basis that, posting on LinkedIn or Facebook maybe is not the highest priority. But with the help of AI, you can build out a 30-day content calendar in just a few minutes that you can then schedule to have posted through other tools, and it's something that you don't have to worry about. But number one, going back to your question, platforms that we see advisors focusing on right now, the big two are still LinkedIn and Facebook, where we see advisors spending most of their time posting on social media. And many advisors, are already kind of using, third-party posts from other companies to fill in this content, which, there's pros and cons to that, right? It's usually compliance approved, it's easy, it's ready to go, but it's not maintaining your brand voice. It's nothing personal about your business, and it can seem a little bit cookie cutter to people who are coming across. And I think this is where AI has a huge ability to help advisors in this space, because now you're able to have posts that are, basically automated for you if you're prompting it correctly, but you're able to implement your personality, your brand voice into this content, and still, to Sean's point earlier about, building a niche or having these client personas, having a good message platform. If you're able to leverage these tools in the creation of these social media posts, they're going to sound much more like you. They're going to be much more relevant to your clients and your prospects, and they're going to be a much better use of your time when it comes to AI creation. So we see advisors who are already using AI in creating different kinds of posts, and maybe, they're just using some regular prompts to help them come up with that. But in our AI for marketing course, we kind of go through the process of showing advisors how they can create different forms of content from one content piece. So for an example, advisors who are doing webinars, we show them how they can take a recording of their webinar, take the transcript of that, turn that into multiple blog posts that they can then post on their website, email newsletters about it that they can send out. And then we also show them how to create social media posts from that content to promote the blog post or to promote the webinar as a whole. And so this is really powerful because, again, it's taking a transcript of a webinar that you, the advisor, has given, so your words that you've said, and it's creating content from that. So it's using your voice, it's using the terms that you use, and it's creating a specialized post that, is not going to be found anywhere else, as opposed to maybe using a third party where, again, there's pros and cons to it, but it's not always going to be in your voice. So I think we see a lot of advisors kind of turning to AI for that. There are some things you need to be aware of. Sometimes it's really obvious when social media posts are written by AI. There's a lot of emoji use. There's certain words that are always used. And that's why in our program, we kind of focus on how can you take your own content and use that as kind of the source code for these posts going forward. And we also give you some, techniques and strategies that you might want to implement to make it a little less obvious that AI was used in the creation of that. But it's really powerful for those posts. The models are schooled up on how to optimize for those platforms like LinkedIn and Facebook. It knows how long the post should be, how things should be formatted. And so with some good prompting, you can really come up with a 30-day calendar based on different financial topics you might want to focus on, or even mini campaigns based on a webinar that you did or a newsletter that you wrote, that will help promote the other content that you're coming up with on a regular basis. So I think that's a really powerful use case for advisors. And it's kind of an area that's easier to get started with. If you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed about how do I start to implement AI in my practice, I think that social media could be a good place to kind of experiment with that and come up with some posts, and using the role task format prompting that we went over at the top of this live stream, and thinking about how you can use that to come up with posts might be a good thing to experiment with over the weekend if you're kind of wanting to get your feet wet.
Yeah, good point, Devin, for sure.
Yeah. And I was quickly say that, content repurposing, there used to be, or there still is, firms that would just do this and spend hours doing this for you. And now with these AI tools, it's just amazing how you can do this yourself so quickly. It's exciting. Okay, well, let's leave people maybe with, if they haven't implemented AI into their marketing, what's one simple way that they could get started this week experimenting with it?
Well, first of all, I think people should get an account at ChatGPT, which is at openai.com. Devin, you want to address this because we have had some advisors who, are totally new to all this, and they'll search where to go to get started in terms of, having access to the tool, and they search on Google and they click on something that is semi-deceptive, and they end up not being at ChatGPT, even though they think they are. Can you kind of straighten us out on that one?
Sure, yeah, that's a really great point. We have had a couple of advisors who have signed up for what they thought was ChatGPT, but actually was not. So you want to, if you have never made a ChatGPT account before, you want to go to openai.com. And from there, you'll be able to log into ChatGPT. If you don't have an account, it will pop up with some different subscription options. There is the free option, that there are some limitations on how much you can use it, which models you have access to. For anyone in our programs, we recommend that they get the paid version. They came out with a new name, Pro versus Plus. I can't remember which one is which, but it's the $20 a month one is what we recommend for our advisors going through the program, because that gives you access to all of the different models. You're not going to be kind of cut off when you've reached your limit. And there's some benefits to that as well. They also have now one that's $200 a month. That's really unnecessary for most advisors going through this program or using AI on their own. And then there's also a business account, which if you have a team of people who's going to be working with you throughout and using AI, that can be beneficial. But for most people who are just getting started, I would say that $20 a month account is where you want to start, and you want to go to openai.com and make sure that that's where you're signing up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, Doug, I would just one last thing is to say to people out there who are listening, if you're not getting started yet, this is where the world is going. Like it or not, and there's some things to not like about it, but this is really big, and it's not going away. In fact, it's getting bigger, stronger, more powerful, more effective, and cheaper to use. And so, um, you want to bring this into your business. There's simply no doubt about it. This is the biggest thing I've seen since the first time I saw a Netscape browser and this thing called the World Wide Web. This is like 100 times bigger than that. And of course, it's built on top of the World Wide Web. But anyway, that's another issue. But you want to be involved. You need to, you are going to need this going forward. And why wouldn't you anyway? Because it is allows you to get things done faster, more quick, at a higher rate of quality, and you just are going to enjoy a variety of benefits from it once you just get some basic skills, and that's what we're all about. Kind of teaching AI literacy to financial advisors in these different channels, or vertical topics. And so our first one, the AI powered advisor, starts next Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. This program is basically intro to AI for financial advisors, and it's a great place to start. And we hope that we see you there next week. Doug, you got the link there for everybody, right? Horsesmouth.com/AI.
AI.
Get you, get you,
AI.
get you
Yep.
to where you need to go.
Yep. Perfect. All right. We'll leave it there. Sean and Devin, thank you so much for joining me and chatting about this today.
Thank
And
you.
everybody, thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day.
Take care.